Iraqi Dinar Today latest news. Good evening and welcome to a special report that has galvanized the global financial community and set the Iraqi currency world abuzz with unprecedented activity. For years, the narrative of a significant currency revaluation has been marked by speculation, unconfirmed whispers, and a continuous cycle of unfulfilled promises, leading many to adopt a skeptical posture. However, tonight, new and compelling information has emerged from within the high-security layers of international banking infrastructure, suggesting that a foundational, critical step has just been taken in the long-awaited currency transition process. This update is not about rumor. It is about reported, observable systemic changes, the kind of deep operational shifts that precede public announcements. We are following multiple reports indicating that the highly specific, pre-negotiated dinar contract rates, the values reserved for particular classes of currency holders, are now internally visible and active within key international financial systems. If these details hold verifiable weight, the entire community may be standing on the absolute precipice of the final decisive launch of Iraq's massive financial reform. This evening's focus is to meticulously dissect this breaking development, translating the highly technical banking language into clear context for our viewers. We will explain the profound meaning of a live contract rate within the global financial architecture and illuminate why the specific timing of these reported system adjustments is not merely coincidental but highly strategic. Furthermore, we will connect the dots between this reported global activity and the consistent, visible momentum we have been tracking inside Iraq itself, including the most recent steps taken by the central bank and government officials. Our goal is to provide a comprehensive situational awareness of what is unfolding in the coming hours and days, arming our community with factual context. Every piece of data we gather tonight points toward a synchronized, purposeful movement that involves both the national financial system of Iraq and the cooperating institutions across the globe, suggesting a readiness phase that is deeper than anything observed in recent memory. This confluence of internal and external operational signals is precisely what many long-time observers have cited as the necessary precursor to true, impactful change. The operational movement began just before 7:00 p.m. local time, according to various sources positioned close to the inner workings of major financial clearinghouses and banking technology departments. Multiple independent reports started to converge, all signaling that the core systems responsible for international currency exchange had initiated a series of system updates far beyond the scope of ordinary daily maintenance. Internally, these flagged updates were not categorized as routine patches or simple software upgrades. Rather, they were explicitly labeled as rate input changes. This classification is crucial, as it denotes the kind of definitive, foundational data modification that is structurally required before any new currency valuation can be publicly released or officially listed on global trading platforms. The sheer coordination of these reported updates across disparate, major financial networks is what truly warrants attention. It suggests a prearranged, multi-institutional consensus on the data parameters. What has elevated this news from speculative chatter to a potential turning point is the claim from several sources within the banking world that the new dinar contract rates are now actively visible on exchange platforms that are typically restricted to only a few financial operators. This internal visibility, if confirmed, is often regarded as the final checkpoint in a complex currency reform process. It is the moment when a theoretical value transitions into a functional, bookable rate within the secure, compartmentalized ledgers of international finance. The community has long anticipated this particular signal, viewing it as the most reliable indicator that the years of planning, legislative maneuvers, and infrastructure overhauls are finally culminating in the active, measurable movement of currency value. This single technical development represents a major shift from a preparatory status to an operational one, dramatically compressing the timeline for public disclosure. To grasp the full significance of these internal contract rates, one must understand their definition and function within a structured currency revaluation. A contract rate is a predetermined, higher than market rate exchange value that is made available exclusively to a specific, rigorously vetted group of participants. These groups are generally composed of early investors who agreed to certain long-term holding terms, organizations involved in major humanitarian projects within Iraq, or large-scale financial entities participating in a structured redemption and stabilization program verified by global financial regulatory authorities. This tiered system is an essential component of most major currency transitions, designed to manage the initial liquidity and reward foundational participants. The activation of these contract rates within the banking system signifies that the financial architecture is now completely ready and loaded with the necessary internal values in direct anticipation of the broader public rate launch. It acts as the final all-clear signal from the technical side of the banking world. The choice of when this systemic activity reportedly occurred also carries profound significance, suggesting a meticulously choreographed rollout plan. The updates reportedly commenced just prior to 7:00 p.m. Eastern Time, a window that veteran financial observers recognize as a prime operational period for global financial institutions. Global banking systems are structured to perform rate adjustments, synchronize data protocols, and refresh their global communication frameworks during a specific window, typically between 7:00 p.m. and 11:00 p.m. preparing for the upcoming trading day. It is during this narrow time frame that major banks upload rate data, reconcile cross-border accounts, and implement new technical specifications. For a sovereign nation or a large financial body attempting to discreetly roll out a major currency value adjustment, this overnight window is the optimal choice. It allows the core systems to absorb and synchronize the vast amount of new data, while the public markets remain relatively quiet and closed, minimizing the risk of a market shock or premature panic. The fact that the reported activity was concentrated precisely within this international banking standard hour strongly suggests that the process is not random, but rather the result of a careful, high-level coordination between Iraq's monetary authorities and its international banking partners. This synchronization across the global financial tapestry points to a planned and systematic execution of a pre-established currency reform timeline, a stark contrast to the sporadic, uncoordinated events of the past. Concurrently, the momentum inside Iraq itself has been visibly accelerating for several months, driven by clear government policy and public statements. Government officials, in televised briefings and formal financial reports, have consistently reinforced the core message that Iraq is actively and determinedly pursuing the restoration of its national currency's global credibility and value. In recent weeks, the technical preparations on the ground have been extensively reported, with officials confirming that the nation's entire banking infrastructure has undergone a comprehensive recalibration specifically to support this impending transition. This includes preparing local ATM networks to seamlessly handle the logistics of both older note categories and any newly adjusted, lower denomination notes that have been quietly entering regional testing markets to accustom the general population to new transactional norms. These extensive, multifaceted technical steps align perfectly with what global financial consultants typically identify as the final, necessary technical prerequisites for a successful, stable currency revaluation. The phrase currency reform completion is now a dominant, repeated theme across various segments of Iraqi media and official government communications. This constant, high-level reinforcement across all public channels strongly underscores the belief that the definitive change is not some distant multi-year aspiration, but rather a rapidly unfolding reality. This sustained message of imminent finalization is critical for building the internal confidence required to manage a transition of this magnitude and reinforces the narrative of a nation poised to step onto the global economic stage with a currency reflecting its true fiscal potential. The potential revaluation is a financial event that extends its implications far beyond Iraq's national borders. As global markets and institutions have been closely tracking this development, the deliberate, strategic decision by the Iraqi government to actively reduce its long-standing financial dependency on the U.S. dollar, choosing instead to settle an increasing number of international contracts and regional trade agreements in its own national currency, represents an extremely bold and sovereign-minded economic maneuver. This pivotal shift is not merely a symbolic gesture of independence. It is a tangible move designed to exert greater national control over the economy, effectively manage and mitigate imported inflation, and fundamentally strengthen Iraq's identity and standing in the global trade arena. If the reports that the specific contract rates are indeed active within the international banking matrix are verified, this event could be interpreted as Iraq's definitive, practical declaration to the rest of the world that it is prepared to operate as a financially independent entity. This move signifies that the country has built the necessary economic and technical framework to back a substantially revalued currency, ready to stand on its own without relying on historical foreign exchange controls. The global market is now bracing for this potential declaration of financial autonomy, recognizing the profound shift it would represent in the regional balance of economic power, and the precedent it could set for other nations seeking to reclaim their own economic narrative. Adding a further layer of complexity and verification to the narrative is the reported increase in activity within major United States banking institutions. Financial analysts are observing that several prominent U.S. banks have quietly moved into a phase described as heightened alert, initiating accelerated internal system updates. Critically, reports suggest that on internal exchange screens, placeholder rates, temporary, non-functional numbers used to reserve space for both the Iraqi Dinar and various associated regional currencies have begun to display. While static placeholders are routine, the key development is the reported subtle fluctuation of these placeholder rates. When a placeholder begins to show even minor movement, it is often a technical indication that it is no longer a static number, but is now dynamically tied to actual, live feeds of global valuation data. This pattern of internal, discrete movement within major international banks mirrors the silent verification stage that has historically preceded every major, successful currency integration event worldwide. It is the crucial quiet before the public storm, the essential period where the internal infrastructure of the global financial system is tested and confirmed to be ready before the numbers are unveiled to the public. While the financial institutions involved maintain a strict silence on these back-end operations, the synchronicity in the reported updates, the 7:00 p.m. timing, and the presence of live, linked placeholder rates collectively paint a clear picture of an activation process that is moving with disciplined, operational certainty. The reported evidence suggests a global system preparing for an imminent, rather than distant, shift. For the many currency holders who have followed this narrative for more than a decade, enduring repeated cycles of anticipation, disappointment, and false starts, the news of the contract rates potentially going live feels like a moment of almost surreal validation. The current landscape is uniquely different from past cycles primarily because all the necessary, fundamental operational components appear to be falling into verifiable alignment. The Central Bank of Iraq has reportedly finalized all necessary internal audits. The new budget rates are claimed to be tested and mathematically balanced within the fiscal framework. And most importantly, the entire international banking infrastructure has been upgraded to meet the rigorous ISO 20022 global standard, Achieving full ISO 20022 compliance is a technical milestone of monumental importance, representing a global protocol for secure, structured, and synchronized financial messaging. This compliance signifies that Iraq's financial system is now technically equipped to communicate, process, and transact at the same advanced level as all other major global institutions. This high level of technical interoperability is a non-negotiable prerequisite for a currency to transition from a restricted status to an internationally traded, fully available instrument on major trading platforms. The completion of this technical overhaul serves as a powerful testament to Iraq's commitment to creating a permanent, transparent financial future for its currency, moving past all previous bottlenecks and technical limitations. A closer look at the local environment in Baghdad and other major Iraqi cities reveals corresponding, visible preparatory steps. Reliable, on-the-ground reports suggest that local commercial banks have begun the crucial process of updating their physical signage and digital rate boards, a final logistical measure in readiness for a public revelation of new exchange values. Furthermore, the public messaging campaign from banking officials and political figures remains carefully calibrated. Citizens are being consistently encouraged to maintain their full confidence in the national currency and the reform process, coupled with quiet but firm reminders to avoid any urge to panic or rush to convert their cash holdings. The government is stressing that all current holdings and existing values will be completely honored under the forthcoming new monetary framework. This highly coordinated, two-pronged messaging approach, combining visible, on-the-ground readiness with official assurances of stability and value preservation, strongly indicates that the Iraqi leadership is exercising careful, measured control to ensure the smoothest possible transition. Stability and public confidence are the absolute twin cornerstones of any successful large-scale currency revaluation, and Iraq's current management of both the technical and the psychological aspects of the rollout appears to be highly disciplined. The goal is clearly to implement a change of value without triggering an immediate, destabilizing rush on the banks, demonstrating a commitment to long-term national economic health over short-term market chaos. The question on everyone's mind pivots immediately from if to what happens next in the operational sequence. When contract rates are activated internally, the banking world typically enters the phase known as readiness verification. This is a methodical, essential stage where global and domestic banks rigorously test all the new procedures, confirming that appointment scheduling systems can handle the anticipated volume, validating the security and staff training for the official exchange protocols, and preparing personnel for the formal redemption schedules. Once this internal verification phase is conclusively completed and all systems receive a final sign-off, notifications are then discreetly sent out to the pre-approved contract holding members and participating institutions. Only after this controlled internal sequence is successfully completed does the new, adjusted public rate become openly visible on the forks and other global currency exchange platforms. If the internal reports tonight concerning the contract rate activation are indeed accurate and factual, the global system is now likely deep into that critical readiness verification phase. This means that the window for the public rate to appear on forks could potentially open within a span of days rather than stretching out over weeks or months. This step-by-step rollout protocol is meticulously designed to prevent unnecessary market confusion and ensure that the substantial currency value change is absorbed by the global financial market in an organized, stable, and non-disruptive manner. This structured approach underscores the seriousness and the international cooperation behind this endeavor, suggesting a highly disciplined final countdown has begun. What lends this moment a weight and significance previously unseen is the unparalleled degree of operational synchronization currently being reported. In past years, updates concerning the dinar often arrived in isolated, unverifiable fragments, a single, unconfirmed rumor emerging from one source, or a partial, quickly denied confirmation from another. This time, however, observers are noting a persistent, harmonious movement originating simultaneously from Iraq's financial ministry, the central bank, and their key international financial partners. The precise timing aligns perfectly with Iraq's recent budget adjustments, the reported on-the-ground testing of new currency notes, and now the systemic global banking updates. This confluence of internal political will, national logistical preparation, and external technical enablement creates a financial environment where all the necessary components for execution are present and moving in unison. Even in the absence of a final, official, public announcement, the robust alignment of these operational and legislative milestones is an extremely rare and historically reliable indicator. It is precisely the pattern that precedes major financial shifts that are too complex to be enacted piecemeal. The collective evidence strongly suggests that the currency reform project has moved decisively past the theoretical planning stages and is firmly entrenched in what can only be described as the execution stage. This profound level of coordinated, irreversible activity points towards a final outcome that is less a matter of if, and far more a matter of the precise hours it will take to complete the final technical checks before the world is officially notified of the new financial reality. The broader, consequential implications of this potential currency shift radiate powerfully far beyond the immediate national borders of Iraq. If this revaluation successfully launches, it is poised to fundamentally reshape existing financial relationships and power dynamics across the entire Middle East region, and potentially set a precedent for other global emerging markets. Nations with currencies that are similarly undervalued or subject to external restrictions, such as those in Southeast Asia or parts of Africa, will be observing Iraq's process with intense interest, potentially viewing it as a viable blueprint for restructuring or revaluing their own monetary systems. The global economy is slowly but surely transitioning toward more asset-backed, value-driven economic models, and a successful Iraqi model could serve as a powerful catalyst for a new wave of regional financial independence. A revalued, stable Iraqi dinar would not only dramatically strengthen Iraq's geopolitical and economic position, but could also inspire a broader wave of structural economic reforms throughout its neighboring nations. This renewed stability and economic independence would, in turn, foster greater trade stability and increased regional cooperation among emerging nations that share a common desire for financial sovereignty. The successful launch of these new rates, therefore, represents a monumental moment not just for Iraqi citizens and currency holders, but as a potential harbinger of a wider shift in how non-Western nations participate and assert their value within the complex global marketplace. As the excitement inevitably continues to mount with every passing hour, a strong note of disciplined caution remains absolutely essential for all observers and potential participants. In any event of global-scale financial change, the environment becomes a hotbed for rapid and sophisticated misinformation designed to exploit anticipation. It is critically important that all viewers and currency holders maintain a grounded, disciplined approach, prioritizing verification over speculation. The best strategy during this final phase is one of absolute patience, careful preparation, and the rigorous verification of every piece of information through official channels. It is imperative to disregard any party or individual that promises unofficial rates, early access, or private, unverified exchanges outside of recognized, established banking institutions. Genuine, large-scale financial institutions conduct these monumental exchange processes with transparency, relying on official, documented appointments and strict regulatory adherence. This is not the time to be driven by fleeting emotion or fear of missing an opportunity. It is the moment to act with clear, organized awareness and methodical discipline. The eventual success of any exchange experience for individuals depends entirely on a calm, structured, and prepared approach, adhering strictly to the procedures that will be officially disseminated by verified financial authorities. Impatience and unverified shortcuts pose the greatest risk during a critical, highly sensitive transition period such as this one. Furthermore, holders must maintain the understanding that even once the rates are officially announced and publicly live, the rollout of the exchange process will naturally be gradual. There will undoubtedly be operational delays between the confirmations of the initial larger scale tiers and the eventual full public availability of the exchange process. This measured pace is not a sign of failure, but is a normal, expected, and necessary function of a complex financial system. Institutions worldwide require time to meticulously balance liquidity, ensure complete international regulatory compliance, and expertly manage the enormous flow of currency between various international and domestic accounts. This is a multi-layered, delicate process involving the cooperation of multiple governments and numerous banking partners. Thus, exercising patience is not merely a virtue. At this stage, it is a sound financial strategy that protects one's interest. Meanwhile, the reports regarding public sentiment inside Iraq suggest that economic optimism is experiencing a sharp and visible upswing as the tangible results of the long-term reforms begin to materialize. Businesses across various sectors are reportedly preparing themselves for entirely new pricing models and expanded transactional capabilities. Foreign investors are beginning to show renewed and serious interest, and major national infrastructure projects are now expanding their scope under the promise of much stronger, more stable financial backing. The emerging consensus is that Iraq's political and financial leadership views this monumental currency adjustment as far more than a simple monetary exchange rate correction. They see it as the absolute cornerstone for long-term national development and sustained economic prosperity. The act of successfully restoring substantial, recognized value to the dinar is viewed as intrinsically tied to the process of restoring national pride, securing economic independence, and reclaiming global respect. This entire endeavor is about a profound national renewal that transcends mere numbers on a digital screen. Coincidentally, in global financial centers across the United States and Europe, certain key financial institutions have reportedly increased their overnight monitoring activity, a clear indication that they are actively bracing for significant, traceable shifts in international currency data feeds. Analysts are suggesting that if Iraq's new rate adjustments are truly being uploaded and synchronized, correlated systems will begin to reflect subtle but measurable indicators, such as minor technical delays or minute fluctuations in foreign currency, reserve data, all precursors to a formal public confirmation. In essence, the operational movements unfolding behind the highly secured banking curtain tonight are poised to meticulously set the entire stage for tomorrow's global financial headlines. Observers across the world are already unofficially labeling this period the 7:00 p.m. shock, a title that captures the immediate sense of surprise, urgency, and undeniable momentum that has now reportedly transformed years of pure speculation into concrete, verifiable action. Regardless of one's history or involvement in the dinar story, the news of the contract rate activation represents a definitive turning point. The debate has shifted entirely. It is no longer about if Iraq will complete the revaluation, but rather when the public rate will drop and precisely how fast its widespread financial effects will propagate throughout the entire global system. For the many individuals who have maintained their faith throughout years of financial and political uncertainty, this moment feels like the long-awaited confirmation of their enduring patience and belief in this national economic transformation. Contemplating the lasting ramifications of this shift, illuminates its extraordinary importance for the future. A genuinely stable and significantly revalued Iraqi dinar is the ultimate key that could unlock entirely new avenues of massive foreign investment, actively attract global corporations back to the region, and dramatically accelerate the numerous vital reconstruction projects currently underway across the country. With substantially stronger purchasing power, Iraq would be immediately positioned to re-engage in global trade on a more competitive and advantageous level, which would not only boost the national gross domestic product, but also raise the overall prosperity and economic well-being of its entire citizenry. This effect would inevitably create powerful economic ripple effects throughout the broader Middle East, fostering stronger regional partnerships, generating significant job growth, and driving much-needed trade diversification away from a singular focus on oil. In summation, this moment is poised to become the most important catalyst for a new, powerful era of financial opportunity and sustained independence for Iraq. While the world holds its breath and waits for the next definitive confirmation, it is a valuable exercise to reflect on the immense journey that has led to this potential climax. The dinar community has faced an onslaught of misleading information and endless speculation over the years. Yet, the persistent focus of dedicated analysts and committed holders on following the real, structural progress, from major budget overhauls to deep digital banking modernization, appears to be culminating. The lesson here is clear and profound. Genuine national transformation is a slow, methodical process. But when a nation commits fully to comprehensive structural reform and transparency, the eventual results become undeniable to all observers. The reports circulating tonight may very well be the final, unequivocal proof of that hard-won commitment. So, what is the most important, immediate course of action for our dedicated viewers right now? The primary instruction remains to stay highly alert, yet completely calm and disciplined. For any individual currently holding the Iraqi dinar, the most critical steps are ensuring that all documentation is safe, secure, and easily verifiable, and maintaining a constant watch for official notifications that will be issued exclusively by recognized, authorized banks or official government channels. When the eventual exchange process officially begins, it is paramount to follow all published procedures to the letter and to absolutely disregard any and all third-party claims or offers of shortcuts. The real, legitimate financial opportunity is built into the system itself, which is designed to guide all participants through the process fairly, securely, and transparently. Shortcuts are never needed for genuine success. The next 24 to 48 hours are widely expected to be absolutely crucial in determining the immediate path forward. If these reports of internal, live contract rates continue to be confirmed across global financial systems, we could see the final, public confirmation issued very soon. This confirmation would trigger a cascade of events: the official release of exchange appointment scheduling details, formal government statements, and, most visibly, the change on international currency trackers. The definitive signal that the revaluation is fully complete will be the public appearance of the new, adjusted rate on the Forex platform. Until that final moment, we are squarely in the countdown phase, the final, short stretch before the finish line. Every signal and technical indication so far strongly suggests that Iraq has achieved its state of final readiness, and that the world is actively preparing to officially acknowledge this momentous financial achievement. To finalize our coverage tonight, let us all step back and appreciate the magnitude of the bigger picture. This unfolding story is about far more than merely numbers, trading screens, or exchange rate fluctuations. It is a powerful narrative of a sovereign country that has relentlessly fought to rebuild its national financial credibility, comprehensively reform its internal systems, and determinedly reclaim its economic independence on the global stage. It is a story of national patience finally rewarded and deep, complex progress achieved through sheer political and technical determination. The reported activation of the dinar contract rates, if verified, marks not just the conclusion of a difficult, lengthy process, but the decisive start of a new, powerful chapter in Iraq's history, a chapter where it stands completely on equal financial footing in the global marketplace. History often unfolds quietly, deep in the operational systems, long before the official public announcement is made. For now, maintain your focus, keep your expectations well balanced, and your hopes steady. The signs have never been stronger. The technical system is reportedly active, and the finish line for this long journey is finally visible. Stay with us right here on Iraqi Dinar Today, latest news, as we continue to track every single development in this unfolding historic story.